the position of where the sun is when you're born is very relevant to the theme of your lifetime. So if the
Hmm.
sun's on the very top of the sky, at the zenith of the sky, that's called noon, being born at noon. They're
Yeah.
very ambitious people because think about it. But you and I are born right as the sun is getting ready to go down. And there's that part of us that feels if we're not connected, if we're not bonded, if there's not somebody to hold hands with or kiss or cuddle with. That's why I had my hands all over you. Remember we were
Yeah.
sitting next to each other and I just kept touching you? I thought, first
Yeah.
of all, this guy's got a body made out of something that's not normal. And
Yeah.
second of all, he seems so cuddly. And then I found out you were Cancer. And then I found out you had Sun in the eighth house and you need intimacy to feel like you're alive. Gotcha. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was terrified of relationships for the first probably 2/3 of my, well, really, I would say I only opened myself up to relationships in any significant way in the last like 5 years. And for all through my 20s, I was never in any real significant relationships. I was in one when I was young, like 18 to 21 or so. And then after that was just completely closed and just didn't have enough emotional availability to really be able to entertain that.
Did you know
And
that you're double? Do you know your chart at all? Do you speak astrology at all, Aaron?
I've heard people kind of purvey the different parts of it, a
But it
handful of
didn't
times over the
stick.
years, but no, I don't really know it.
Okay, so your
Yeah.
sun and your moon are in water signs. Your
Hmm.
sun's in Cancer, your moon's in Scorpio. So your emotional body is like an ocean. And when you get
Yeah.
triggered or you get vulnerable, it's like a wave comes over. And you know how water doesn't dry? It takes a
Hmm.
while. You're like,
Yeah.
uh-oh, I'm in a mood. Uh-oh, I'm
Yeah.
feeling scared. Don't tell anyone. And it's very nonverbal. And they're just kind of, so I appreciate that in a young 20-year-old man who wasn't, educated on how to use his sensitivity, water, the first
Yeah.
element we're going to talk about, people tend to either freeze and turn to ice and pretend they're not emotional and act dumb because they can't admit it,
Yeah.
or they go home in their bedroom and they don't want to come out because they don't want to reveal their vulnerability.
Yeah, I've always had a deep desire to reveal vulnerability. It's more been like a deep, simultaneously deep sensation of loneliness.
Exactly. And that is the nature of water, is the desire for merging and then the lack of satisfaction that occurs when people don't touch you at the deepest level. You're like, go deeper.
Go deeper.
And if they don't, you're left with, see, I was with you and I still feel alone. What's up with that?
Interesting. How does one navigate that?
Well, once you're aware, this is my whole life's work, is called the observer. Once
Yeah.
you're aware that you're double water, if I was Aaron and I had Sun in Cancer, Moon in Scorpio, I'd be like, what is going? Oh, I get it. I resist the very thing I want. There's a sabotager in me that's scared. On the other hand, when I merge and I bond, I have super glue and I'm in the mafia. And if you don't stay close to me, I'm going to feel as though the cold winds of the Arctic just came to my house. So you've got these
Yeah.
extreme natures, your observer's on, you look over at your personality, your ego structure, and you go, ah, he's so cute.
Yeah.
That's the only way to get through it. Because otherwise you could feel really bit like big giant capacity as a man. And cancers are bodybuilders. Who knew that? That this man's like in his body, he's dancing through life, and he's like, where is everybody?
Hmm. Interesting. I wonder how astrology relates to relationships because I'm dating a girl. Her birthday is August 23rd, and she is the opposite of me in relation to conflict. And so her thing is like she wants to be alone and she wants to like go find her regulation and sort herself out. And then I'm a fixer, and I'm like, I can't leave this alone until we get this fixed and until we find
Right.
connection. And it can be like quite painful at times. How does that? How
Well,
does that? How does
that's not
astrology and
compatible. 100% incompatible unless
hmm,
you sit down together and say, I need you to fulfill my need for intimacy and connection. I need to give you space and freedom. How can
yeah,
we manage that without misinterpreting that if I take the neediness will be misinterpreted or the independence will be misinterpreted. And
yeah,
that's where astrology is so powerful because it's incompatible until you've got your observer on and you're like, oh, you weren't doing that to hurt my feelings.
well, you could say simultaneously a person that's kind of like diametrically opposed is your greatest teacher to kind of fulfill those parts of
No, that's my
yourself that
point.
you're lacking.
That's
Yeah,
my point. It's incompatible until the
until you
observer is
grow,
on. The
until you
observer,
mature.
the awareness, the conscious articulation of the dynamic. Without the conscious articulation of the dynamic, you will constantly try to change the other.
Hmm.
And that's what
Okay.
makes relationships fail.
Hope you guys enjoyed that conversation. If you did, a pleasant thing you could do is you could take a clip from this episode and you could tag myself at Aaron Alexander and Debra at Debra Silverman Astrology on the Instagram or wherever you do your social mediaing, and share with people. I think this conversation is valuable. I think Deb is just such a beacon of connection and empathy and deep listening and care. And I think getting messages from her out in the world is a valuable thing. So appreciate y'all. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for sharing. And thanks for checking out the YouTube page. That is at Align Podcast. Subscribe over there if you want to see the video version of this and the rest of the episodes, as well as instructional content. That's it. That's all. Appreciate you. I'll see you next week.